Yep. Yep, I actually started the meeting already. I'm gonna wait to plug in the camera though until we figure out, are we hanging here, or are we gonna go back in that? Oh, hey, Aaron. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but we're still just getting stuff set up here.
Oh, brother, living the dream, grateful for each day, brother. You know that. What to say.
Hi, Aaron. Aaron and Aaron. Oh, I was just saying hi to
How's it going?
Aaron Murphy, who joined. So we got Aaron Lim and Aaron Murphy. Pretty good. How are you?
You can just call me Murphy for clarification.
Murphy, love it. That was the name of my last car. I named it after renowned hero Detroit officer Alex Murphy, who bravely gave his life to science and the city of Detroit, and turned into RoboCop.
Nice. People have actually told me I look like RoboCop a little bit.
I see it. I see it a little bit, man. Have you ever considered becoming a law enforcement cyborg?
I actually have.
It's good to have goals in life. Hey, I'll turn the cam on here in a minute. My co-host and I are here in the Bakerview Suites American Bitcoin Center, where he is so kind to offer us office space, but it may end up just being us here in person tonight, but I'm still waiting to see before I actually set the camera up, because that'll, if we have a few more people show up, we'll hop into the conference room.
Totally.
I don't think,
go ahead.
Aaron, this is your first time joining us?
Yeah. In fact, I'm new to Bellingham, so.
Oh, nice. And sorry, I should have called you Murphy. My bad. It'll take me a minute.
Okay.
Where'd you come to Bellingham from?
Port Townsend.
Oh, cool. So not that far, but
No.
still in the same state anyway.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Bellingham Bitcoin and cryptocurrency meetup. I'm actually going to run next door real quick and pick up the pupusa that I ordered for
Nice.
dinner. And so my co-host Ernest is here. And I think before I step away, I will go ahead and get the camera hooked up because I think it's just going to be you and I. You just going to sit, you think here? Okay, I'll put the camera here then, if you don't mind. It doesn't need much room. You haven't seen this thing yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
Dude, you're gonna love this thing. It's called a meeting owl. It's a yeah, it's a really fancy schmancy conference camera. So
It's upgraded from the one that they used to have, the flat one on the conference.
yeah, and it's got like a 360-degree camera on the top, so it'll focus on, you know, as you and I speak, it'll like pop back and forth basically.
Oh, okay.
So that way people feel a little more connected. Speaking of people, hi Aurora, I see that you joined there.
Hello.
How are you
Didn't
doing
want to
today?
interrupt the proceedings. I'm doing okay.
So we're gonna get the camera hooked up. Bear with me for just one more minute, and then once I get the camera rolling, I'm actually gonna step next door and pick up my dinner because our spot here is located right next door to a delicious pupusa restaurant.
Ah, I love pupusas.
Yeah, I just had one today for the first time actually at a different restaurant, and so now I'm gonna try the ones here and see how they compare.
Oh, so you're that kind of guy, huh?
You know, my parents are like the traditional, like, you know, steak and potatoes. I did not really ever try anything outside of that until I became an adult and moved out. But since then, I have tried to make up for lost time.
That's cool. Well, pupusas are an excellent addition to your diet, I would say. It's very similar to our food back in Venezuela. I'm also trying to set up my camera.
Cool. Yeah, me too. This thing, it's a cool camera, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to plug in. All right. A second here. We're almost there. Okay. Hear me? Can you guys hear us?
I can hear you.
Totally.
All right, starting the video now. Hey, all right, can you see us?
Hey, look at that.
Or you can at least see, there we go, it's slowly rotating. Here, we'll help it. Hold it along. Other way.
That's cool. It's like a 360-degree camera that follows faces.
Well, it's supposed to. Kind of weird right now for some reason. I'll be connected to the Wi-Fi. Let me try. I've never actually used it here, so that might be part of the problem. But yeah, it's supposed to be all like fancy about it. It's not doing a great job though.
Right here, buddy, you ready?
Oh yeah, I got it.
Okay,
That's right about that.
That's all. That's it right there. Well, good evening to everyone. If you can hear me, welcome. It was, what was your name again, sir?
That's right. We've got Murphy, Aurora, James, and then Aaron.
Okay, Murphy, Aurora, James, and Aaron, correct?
Let's do this.
Indeed.
You guys can hear me. Well, good evening to each of you. As my co-host shared with you, I'm your other co-host, and I'm Ernest Roberts. And yeah, we're the American Bitcoin and Cryptocurrency Center here in our locality of Bellingham, Washington. We've been doing this probably, I think, Matt, let me see, I guess probably about 6 years, about 5 years now we've been doing it, right? And Dan joined us about over 2 years ago now.
2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago now. So yeah, we just continue to provide the information and discuss anything that anyone wants to know about this space, blockchain and crypto. As you know, a lot of you are curious. We've had the opportunity to speak with some of you that are here already, which has been really pleasing to me because you guys are very where you're getting educated, because I think it's a constant education because it's just too new. Not, 98% of people don't even have cryptocurrency. They don't even know how to get it. So it's a good issue, and it can also be a bad issue because when they're not educated, this is why they get taken advantage of. And so that's what we really set out to do, because we lost a lot of money, because, we knew enough, but we didn't know enough of enough, right? And so with these other new components, NFTs and DeFi savings, which are designed, for, basically setting up savings, a DeFi savings account. And I see Mr. Wee, is that right here? James, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we're grateful to have James and a lot of you here because I think you guys bring a lot of information to the platform. We are here to help people to figure it out and learn whatever aspect of it that they're willing to spend the time. You can always win if you're willing to be consistent and spend the time in the areas in which you have curiosity in this field. So I'm grateful to have met a lot of people. We've met a tremendous amount of people over the past several years. And, some that we still have relationships with, and trying to get those that are still on the platform to re-engage. But, life happens. And, the pandemic has kind of caused everybody to kind of ascertain or take a good look at where they're going with their future when it comes to their legacy wealth. So again, welcome to all of you. And we're very grateful for those that keep coming back. And so go around and kind of introduce you guys yourself to each other there on the platform. You guys all know who I am. We have a new person on the platform tonight, and that is it Aaron Murphy?
Yep.
Yeah, Aaron Murphy. And Aaron Murphy is joining us originally from, I believe, Port Townsend. Is that what you said, sir?
Yeah, just a stone's throw away.
Yeah, not too far, right? And so you're living here in the Bellingham area?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a great community, so welcome.
It is.
Glad
Thank you.
here. Yeah, you live in Washington, you're already in a great place compared to the rest of the country, in my opinion. Being originally from Missouri, Missouri can't light a candle to Washington State, in my opinion, also. So welcome. So go ahead and introduce yourself there, James, Mr. Murphy, to everybody on the platform.
Sure. My name is Murphy. Technically it's Aaron Murphy, but I've worked in TV for a long time, mostly as a sound mixer. So I'm a film and TV professional, and I travel a lot for work, and I go by Murphy because it sounds better over the walkie-talkie, because we talk to each other in walkie-talkies. Aaron just sounds like Eric, and there's usually a lot of Erics on crews, so Murphy's always worked for me. I've been in crypto since the late 2018, early 2019, and really got into Bitcoin. I'm heavy Bitcoin, but I'm also weighted into all the other cryptos by market cap, Ethereum, and everything down the line. I'm bullish on ADA and bullish on Solana and on down the line. I'm really loving helium. I'm trying to get more into that. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Well, the rest of you can introduce yourself to Mr. Murphy. Can you hear us?
Yes, I think everyone's shy.
How about you, since you spoke?
All right. I'm the shyest. All right. My name is Aurora Stephanie. I'm an economist by training. I have thought a lot about the nature of value and the nature of trade. And when I got into Bitcoin, I was sort of consumed by it. I think it's one of the, it's really beautiful, like how it balances everyone's incentives and delivers a sort of immutable truth that you can sort of take for granted. Like, okay, so that transaction is recorded forever. Now you can trust that. Like, there's a lot you cannot trust. You can trust that. So I got more and more interested in it. I am still just mostly on Bitcoin, and I have a small pocket change into a couple of other projects, but it's mostly because I have been meaning to understand some of the other projects better, because you have to leave the door open for something better than what you already know to exist. So I have been doing that. I haven't found anything better than Bitcoin, to be honest, or remotely similar. But I do understand the value proposal of some of these other projects, and I guess some of them can succeed within the industries and stuff. But I still think only one of them is going to change the world. So as of now, I'm still mostly interested in Bitcoin, and the reason I joined this group is because I wanted. Up until recently, everything I had done with Bitcoin, I did it on my own. Couldn't get anyone else interested. So yeah, I'm just interested in knowing what other people are thinking, what other people are discovering. Open to learn about other currencies if that's what's discussed here. And but yeah, that's me.
Of course.
Now someone else do it. Go on. James.
Yeah, I can go. So hey, I'm James. I currently work as a smart contract dev for a DeFi startup. Got into crypto roughly in 2016. I started out as an Ethereum miner. So I had about 1,000 video cards across 3 locations mining Ethereum, and got into DeFi roughly in the beginning of 2018, and just went pretty heavy into DeFi. So I got a decent amount of Bitcoin, but Bitcoin, Ethereum, and mostly DeFi is like the rest. And I phased out of mining roughly 2 months ago, so I'm not mining anymore. I've never actually bought any crypto. All the crypto I have, I got through mining. So I've never traded for crypto. So I don't even know, like a lot of people ask me, where do you get your crypto? Like, how do you KYC? And I was like, oh man, I have no idea. But
that's the dream, no? You have a bunch of virgin Bitcoin.
Yeah, and Ethereum. Well, I got I only mined Ethereum, but I was able to get Bitcoin because I sold some of the hash rate through NiceHash. So NiceHash, somebody would come in and buy the hash rate, and I would get Bitcoin, and then the hash rate would be rented out. But I was
the purpose of that for the buyer and the seller of the hash rate is what?
So NiceHash is like a hash rate exchange, right? Now, why do people buy hash rate? Because it's gonna normalize, right? You're not gonna be the reason I was mining Ethereum was because I was able to get Ethereum at below market. So because electricity would be like what? Like, let's say hypothetically I was spending $40-50 per Ethereum, or 60-70 bucks per Ethereum. This was back in 2018. In 2016, Ethereum was $10, right? So I was really not spending much to get an Ethereum, and that's exactly why you normally would mine, but with these
but the person who buys the hash rate from you,
so
presumably they pay you Bitcoin for it, and if it's a competitive market, then you're not making a profit.
That is actually a good question. I've always wondered who's on the
Okay.
other side of the trade.
Okay.
There are a couple of things I do see. Sometimes they rent hash power to attack networks. That has happened before. So what would happen, especially if it's a small network, like for example, Bitcoin Gold, like a random fork, right? Bitcoin SB, BSB, for example, right? Or any Bitcoin fork that has the same algorithm. Then you can go on to NiceHash and buy a huge chunk of hash rate and just attack the crap out of the network. That can happen, right? The NiceHash is a pretty big, I would say, a pretty big marketplace. It certainly has a lot of hash rate, and you can rent, right? Maybe another reason why you would want to buy hash rate or it is to be able to mine the coin so you can get it anonymously, right? That's one possibility. Some people just like to mine, right? They think mining is you're able to get your coins more anonymously than say going through an exchange or buying through Coinbase or some kind of exchange with KYC, right? So there's various reasons why it's hard to pinpoint, but it seems like NiceHash is a pretty big marketplace. Yeah, so that's kind of me. I mean, I know a lot of the kind of the technical side of things. So I'm more into. I mean, I would certainly talk about like price and everything. That's fine. Like if you want to talk about like a coin that's gonna go up in price, I'd be happy to talk about it. But my focus is more on kind of the technical side of things, like building smart contracts, building DeFi protocols, and specifically the company I work for is doing fixed rate lending and borrowing. So that is kind of what I'm. So it is a kind of a debt marketplace. So essentially, it's a place for people to trade IOUs, and the fixed rate is guaranteed by the future cash flow of these IOUs, collateralized by Bitcoin or Ethereum. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm. So that's me.
Cool. And Aaron, I mean Murphy, what were you like most interested in with regards to this space?
What am I interested in regards to this space? Y'all can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I guess I'm interested in, well, talking about, I guess a lot of different parts of it. I guess, altcoins to some degree, especially if the use cases are solid, especially if they're local. I like the idea of, discussing local businesses that can interface with crypto and crypto payments. I'm interested actually in talking to folks because one of my reasons to even get on here is to see how I might be a part of either a startup or an established project providing media services, because I'm not a developer, I'm not a programmer, but I've been working in film and TV for a long time, and I've produced content for people, and I've produced crowdfunding videos for clients. And so I'm interested in meeting people that may want to partner and not only let me deepen my connection to cryptos, but also possibly create a job out of it for myself. Because right now I travel out of state often to do my media work, and I'd rather do something local or online that helps the crypto movement, because I'm super bullish and I really want to help educate people about the movement.
My mask, right?
Yeah, hey guys, we had someone show up, so we're actually going to move into a conference room just so we're not making too much noise here. So we're going to be offline for just a minute, and we'll be right back.
Oh, sorry, did I?
No.
Does that answer your question, Aurora?
Yeah, that's very cool. And have you started, because many of the people that I've seen that have succeeded in what I think you're saying,
Well, I'm just,
sort of start like they just start posting, either a video explaining something and then they grow their audience and all that. But you,
yeah, I guess I see myself being a part of like a social media campaign or an ongoing like content for websites to describe, for users to visitors growing a website, as part of a marketing efforts to create ongoing content, like a series of educational content, whatever it is. Because I just
think-
actually
I think there's-
Ledger, for example, just started doing their own program that they partnered with, I forget who it is, but one of the big exchanges. I think that they've done some partnership. Anyway, so what were you gonna say?
no, I was gonna say that that's probably like a good sort of industry that's going to open up a lot, because I think as more and more like traditional businesses start onboarding these like new financial instruments, financial alternatives, they're going to need guidance, right? Like I shop at a it's like a Mediterranean supermarket. They sell Mediterranean food, and they have signs all over the place saying, "Please pay in cash. We're tired of the credit card commissions, and please do this. And if you pay in cash, we'll give you such and such discount." And they are really trying, right? Like it's right there for the taking. Like those people could implement the Lightning Network and
Totally.
start like, but they don't know about it. And I kind of asked the owner, and he didn't know what I was talking about. And I don't want to be that person who goes up to a busy shopkeeper and starts proselytizing or trying to convert them. But it's like it's right there. It's they just
Totally.
don't know about it yet. But what they want already exists. And as they start to realize, and as more sort of user-friendly instruments are created to reach more and more businesses and people, I think that kind of content is going to be booming, right? Like each platform is going to need their educational videos. Each Lightning wallet is going to need their thing, and so on. And it's what I'm trying to say is, like, I think if you sort of plant your flag in this industry at this point, like if you already have something, maybe something prepared, that when they are searching for someone to produce their video, you already have like, hey, I did this video, I could adapt it to your particular app, to your particular platform, to your whatever. It's like I think it's gonna explode at some point, right? And
For sure.
I mean, it is exploding, and you want to sort of be what they find when they start to search, right? So it's, yeah, I don't have any like concrete practical advice to give, but yeah, I think you might be onto something there.
Totally, thanks. It's interesting. I don't know if y'all have been paying attention to the news, but basically, Chiva, the wallet for El Salvador, just went in the last 2
3
weeks since they
million
started.
people.
Yeah,
They
3
have
million.
3 million people.
Yeah,
And it's like that, right? And
Yeah.
I bet you those, I mean, I come from a country very similar to El Salvador, and I can tell you that people in places like that, not a lot of them have like what you would call technological literacy. So you have to make it easy, and you have to make it so clear, so foolproof, like, and that takes know-how, right? So if you position yourself as someone who has done it, and who has done it clearly, and then, yeah, you might you might never have to look for work again, I think. But
De donde eres? Where are you from? Which country?
I'm from Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Yes.
Excellent.
Your
Well, they're in
problems are
desperate
further
need
back.
of it too, aren't they?
What?
They're in need of the Lightning Network as well, aren't
Can you
they?
guys hear us?
Oh yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
you can hear you, but we cannot see you yet, Dan.
Okay. Yeah, we're working on that part.
Yeah, so Aaron, if you can, explain that stuff to somebody with no crypto experience or something, that would be awesome. Like I can't do it. I personally cannot explain DeFi to somebody without financial experience. Like when they hired me, I think the only reason why this DeFi startup even hired me is because of my DeFi knowledge. And I can't even explain DeFi very well to one of my coworkers. Like he has been with the company for a year. He does web development. I have no idea. I cannot, like I explain some of the stuff to him and he doesn't seem to be getting it. So maybe I'm not doing it correctly. Maybe I'm going too deep, too technical. I don't know what the problem is, but it seems like, it's something that's not easy for
I would
people to
say
understand, right?
I would say that it's so new and so abstract in some senses that we, like as a collective mind, have not yet even developed like the best metaphor for each point that we want to make. Like when we want to explain something complex, we resort to metaphors, to likenesses, to something that's a little bit similar to something else, and we haven't fully developed the set of metaphors, the set of languages to refer to these very complex ideas in an understandable way. And that's because it's extremely new, right? Like, I mean, at some point when, I don't know, electricity was brought to the masses, they had to use all sort of parallels with other forms of energy, with other phenomena that people had seen, and eventually, and now we're sort of comfortable. We say, you plug this in, you plug it out, you unplug it. Now we have the metaphors for talking about that, even though we still don't understand electricity, right? Like most of us don't. I've heard nobody does.
It's the same with the internet too. I mean, like billions of people around the world use the internet without really, most people don't have a great understanding of exactly how it works. I think what's really interesting too, if you go back and read like, go back 100, 120 years ago and read some of the critiques of cars. There were livery stable, whatever the word is for the people that, ran the horse carriages. They said, oh, how preposterous, this car runs on gasoline and you have to upkeep it, and like what, you can't even, you have to go on paved roads, whereas a horse can go through like rough terrain, and the car is a dumb idea. We don't need cars, and it's very similar to a lot of the critiques that you hear about Bitcoin, like, oh, actually, I think I forgot to tell you about this, Ernest. I should forward you this email thread. So a couple of weeks ago, I got an email out of the blue from some guy who had found my email address in relation to this group, because I'm listed as the host for this group in a few places, and he found my email address and sent me a nastygram in which he referred to me as a Captain Planet villain, and basically told me that I was a piece of shit and helping to destroy the planet. I invited him here tonight. I was kind of hoping he'd show up, but not surprisingly, like the keyboard warrior that he is, he did not could not even muster the courage to show up over Zoom. Yeah. So clearly, like, but his whole crux of his argument, the reason I bring it up, I mean, besides the fact that it was hilarious, the whole crux of his argument centered around the presupposition that Bitcoin is meaningless, that it is a waste of time and energy. And so therefore, if you come at it from that angle, any amount of energy burned mining Bitcoin is therefore wasted energy if Bitcoin itself is meaningless, pointless.
But the problem is he was unwilling to consider. I mean, I tried, like, I exchanged several emails with him, and I mean, you know me, man, I can be an asshole, but like, I started out nice. I always start nice, like, I try and start nice, because that's how I prefer that people start with me.
Exactly.
And he had none of it, man. He was like, his response was something like, you know, let's not try and, you know, act like we're gonna be friends. And I was like, okay, fine, like, if that's how we're gonna talk, then okay. But like, you know, it blows my mind that, like, you know, I mean, this kid, I'm assuming he's a kid. I mean, he seemed like probably young 20s or something. You know, he's well read, well spoken enough. He's clearly like a fairly decently intelligent person. But it's like, you know, that what is it, the Dunning-Kruger or whatever, where like you don't really know your own blind spots or your own like intellectual weaknesses. He came at the argument, the complete like foundation of his argument was just wrong. And so like, of course, everything after that is going to be as or more wrong.
Right.
You know, it was a very interesting, I don't know, it was a very interesting exchange. I'll forward it to you.
Yeah.
I'll anonymize it and I'll post it on the group meetup page. Yeah, just so that people can get a kick.
Yeah,
But
if
we
you
just have to
think,
always keep respect from some
Yeah, if you
interesting
think
people
it's-
in the world.
yeah,
Go
if
ahead,
you think
James.
it's meaningless, right? If you think all this is like basically a waste or it's contributing nothing to society or something, yeah, then I mean, but that's
Even
just
worse,
but the problem is he's not doing it objectively. It's based on his opinion, right? Like based on my opinion, like I don't go to sporting events, so to me football is a waste of energy, right?
right? Dude,
Like I don't like it, so that's my opinion, right?
High
Like
five.
that's not like objectively that is not us, right? So I think he's suffering from that. I think he's suffering from that. Like he thinks that his opinion is like the universal truth or something, right? And he thinks like it's a waste because it's useless, right?
It was an interesting, I mean, clearly these people just read news articles and just, you know, just don't really spend much more time looking into it. So
I think you need to have sort of doubted the world at some point to really get why it is so important that something like Bitcoin exists, that is unimpeachable truth, is mathematical certainty. It's there, so it's true, and nobody can alter or tweak it or misrepresent it to, you know, to support their point. It's just there. Either this transaction happened or not. This person owns this many coins or not. If you have never doubted the world, if you are so certain of your own views, then you don't really realize the need for some certainty. I mean, you haven't been confronted with the fact that if you doubt the institutions, very little remains, and how fragile everything is in that case, and how reassuring it and valuable it can be to have, you know, a ledger of record.
I just realized I'm being a bit of a bad host. Ernest and I are being a bit of a bad host. I do want to give a new guest a chance to introduce herself, since at the beginning of the meeting we go around and do introductions.
Okay.
So the floor is yours.
So my name is Amrit Booth, and or you can call me Amy for short. I'm actually new out here.
Like to Bellingham?
Well, I lived here before in McLean for about 7 years, and then I moved to Canada, and now I'm back here again. So
Welcome.
A?
Yeah, we say A once in a while.
Or a boot?
You know, I don't know, mostly
No,
it's
boot.
A.
All right.
Yeah, so, but anyway, so, and I'm pretty new to Bitcoin, and I'm really curious, and that's why I'm here, because
Absolutely.
I definitely would like to make some investments and make it big if possible. Cha-ching.
I will say, so one thing that stuck with me, somebody, I don't remember where I saw this, but somebody described Bitcoin as that the best way to think about Bitcoin is not as a way to get rich quick, but rather a way to stop getting poor slowly.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I don't know how much you follow economic news, but like, I think everybody in this room or on this call, the last 12 months has been higher inflation than at any point probably in most of our lives. Right? I think there was a brief period there, maybe in the 70s, but it's before my time anyway. But like, it's you know, I don't know if you guys got a chance to see the link that I posted on the Meetup event page for this. I saw a post on Reddit this morning that I thought was really cool, and so I shared it. It was a guy from Argentina. Was it Argentina?
Yeah.
It was a guy from Argentina who just posted about his experience of getting into Bitcoin. And it's Dan, Ernest, and Amy.
And I didn't get their names.
So upper left is Murphy, who just gave the thumbs up. Bottom left is Aurora, and bottom right is James.
Hey.
Hello. Welcome.
And remind me, so let's see if I get this right. Aurora is down in the Seattle area. Murphy actually just moved to the Bellingham area from Port Townsend. And James, you are also in the Bellingham area, right?
No, I'm in Seattle.
Seattle. Okay.
Well, Bothell, but yeah, Seattle area.
Well, yeah, nice. I'll be down that way next week. Actually, I'm driving through Bothell. I'm going down to Morton. I'm down to Morton, Washington to visit. I'm gonna go hang out and visit the guy who got me into Bitcoin actually so many years ago. We haven't seen. Last time we saw each other was he was a guest at my wedding like a little over 2 years ago, and we're not like good friends, but we've been friends now for 8 years, and he's the guy that got me into Bitcoin. I mean, literally the guy changed my life, like changed the course of my life. So like I owe him a great debt of gratitude. So we're gonna go down there and hang out with him.
Have you made some money from Bitcoin then?
I'm not like quitting my day job or anything, right? Like I still have a day job, but I have a much higher quality of life than I would have had I not gone into Bitcoin.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, and I mean a lot like part of that too, it's like the investments in Bitcoin aside, it's a mindset, right? When I got into Bitcoin, I made less than half of what I make right now in my day job, and granted that was 8 years ago. Part of that is just me developing in my career. But another part of it too is just like my mindset around my job changed in that, I used to just look at a job as like something that I went to get a paycheck, sure. Right. But now one of the things I do with that paycheck is buy Bitcoin. And so I've heard people refer to their day jobs as mining fiat, right? Like instead of mining Bitcoin, I'm mining fiat, and then I'm using that to buy Bitcoin. And so, and now I work in the cryptocurrency space. And so like, it has changed the course of my life. And now I make good money because I have knowledge in a field that is like a new field, right? Like I explain Bitcoin to like some big banks and stuff like that. You'd be surprised, these guys, you'd think they would understand it. They have no fucking clue. No clue. Pardon my language, I say a lot.
There need to be, I totally understand because the younger generation is really grasping. And
I'm not even that young. I mean, I'll be 41 in like 3 weeks, like I'm not that, I mean, I'm, but like, I've just always been a nerd, right? Like I looked the other day, 14 years ago is when I opened my Twitter account. Like I've been an early adopter of a lot of technologies. It just so happened that this one, was like $800 when I first started buying it. And now it's like a lot more. So
and technology is advancing and will continue to advance even after we're gone. So it's a sure thing. It's just you have to determine what part of it that you want to grasp hold to. And it definitely helps you to have IT or some technical type background to understand that most of it is just a peer-to-peer payment system. And it's programming language. It just depends on, if you're a programmer or a gamer, you kind of understand, this field. they're the early adopters. They understood when nobody else didn't even care. I mean, 2016, for instance, the media didn't even pick it up until they said, well, if it hits 10 grand, well, it hit 20. Okay.
I remember there was an article that's I don't know, it was like Forbes or Bloomberg, one of those like big like financial news guys. They shared an article that was like, well, this is it, Bitcoin is dead. And the price of Bitcoin that day, it was like $15. And like there's a website, I think, sorry if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like bitcoinobituaries.com.
Yeah.
It's like 400 plus
400 times or something. Yeah.
It's like all these news articles dating back, at this point, dating back like a dozen fucking years of like, oh, well, this is the end for Bitcoin. And I like, if I'm remembering correctly, it's been a while since I've looked at that site, but if it's the one I'm thinking of, they have the price of Bitcoin on that day, like next to each link. If it's the one that I'm thinking of. And that, it just cracks me up, man. It's like, at what point are they going to realize that they're wrong? Well, that point will come. There will come a point where like the traditional wisdom will be that Bitcoin is here to stay. And I can't wait to be here for that.
They don't need to realize it. There's a famous sentence that says that science advances one funeral at a time. So that scientists don't really ever change their minds. They just get replaced by new scientists who know better.
Right.
So
yeah.
I don't.
So key that fresh perspective. That's why, I don't know. I'm trying really hard as I get older to not fall into that trap of like hating on the younger generation, like, yeah, they're annoying in some ways with their like TikToks and all that stuff. But like at the end of the day,
the generation, you were one too young too.
Exactly. And I'm sure I annoyed the shit out of people that were my age when I was their age. And it's
that word.
Yeah, it's all right.
Hate. Just love. They need love, all the love they can get.
Yeah, I think the thing about DeFi is that it really takes, so what I find interesting is that when I talk to, so DeFi is kind of unique. It requires, in order to actually understand it deeply, like to use it, you don't have to understand it that much. Like you said something about like electricity and things like that, right? But like, to actually understand it deeply, you need some like computer science, like software kind of background, but at the same time, you need to know a little bit about finance, right? So I kind of got lucky because obviously I've been a software developer for the past 13 years, so I've got the software background. I actually graduated as an electrical engineer, so I've got the electrical background as well. And then I started I started buying real estate back in 2008. So I've been a landlord for about 13 years. I've been buying real estate around the Seattle area, down in the Bay Area, also in Oregon. So that was when I got my exposure to traditional finance, right? Because you got to deal with mortgages. Then you learn about like LTV and debt, like fixed income, mortgage rates, interest. You learn about those things, right? So then when I got into DeFi, I was like, hey, this is just like traditional finance, but without the counterparty risk, right? Without brokers. So that's when it kind of clicked, right? Then I kind of found my passion. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just, why don't I just join a DeFi startup? Now here's the dangerous thing, right? So when your work is your passion, then you end up working too much. It's like what they were saying, like I got into crypto to get rid of my 9-to-5 job, but now I work 24/7, right? So it's like,
and you start all the way at 9, man, you lucky devil.
Yeah, it's like because I like it so much that I'm always looking at DeFi, right? So yeah, so that's the thing. So you need that. Otherwise, like I've been trying to explain DeFi to some of my friends, and if they have this traditional like financial kind of background, like finance, if they're in finance, they can understand the financial stuff just fine, but they don't get the smart contracts. They have no idea about how the code works, how the smart contracts are immutable, how they enforce, everything gets enforced. What do miners do when they actually execute these contracts? And what do nodes do when they validate? They don't understand any of this stuff, right? And then when I explain this to my software friends, they get that. Like they get the nodes, they get the contracts, they get the code, but they have no idea what liquidity is, market making, or like the whatever, like liquidity curve, yield curve. They don't know any of that stuff. Like, right? So it's very difficult to find somebody who's well versed in both, right? Who knows what? I mean, I guess you can find maybe a quant who might understand both, right? But it's very difficult. It's not something that's
It's a lot to learn.
that's easy to, yeah, right.
A lot to learn. But there's fractionalization, as we know, that's all we can get of a Bitcoin anyway. The fractionalization of a Bitcoin, unless you were an early adopter, unless you're a big baller. You know, it was 5,000 a day. So, you know, it's not a missed opportunity, but there's other cryptos that are being built on the original blockchain technology, but just ramped up, as you mentioned, DeFi. All they're doing is rewarding you for holding your Bitcoin or any coin that's worth any value. You know, it's just, you know, I try to focus on, there's some areas that I focus on where people can make Bitcoin and Ethereum in real live time while they're learning the platform. So in other words, what I'm saying by what we offer, we also offer the most important component, education. Okay? Educate yourself to blockchain technology, and you can't lose. You're losing because 98% of the world doesn't own any crypto. That's a good and a bad problem. It's called, we're providing solutions in these ecosystems that are being developed and turned into smart contracts or DeFi savings account. There's a lot of that. You know, there's you know, you're probably familiar with Celsius and Nexo. You know, these are organizations that are starting to develop lending programs based on your crypto. And again, you have to have, they never taught us Finance 101 in school, okay? And so you're right, that's the challenge. In business, you should have a perspective of basic accounting in the first place, because I mean, I don't know how comfortable you feel about handing your checkbook over to a bookkeeper. You know, I wouldn't advise that. I would advise knowing some perspective of that.
The only economics class I got in high school was home economics.
Right.
Yeah, they taught me how to bake a cake instead of how to balance a checkbook or do my taxes.
Yeah.
And you know what? Guess how many fucking cakes I've baked in the last 20 years? You know, like
Zero.
yes, it is zero. You know what I do when I want a cake? I go and I buy a cake.
Exactly.
Right, do they still teach home economics?
I have no idea. I graduated high
That's
school
really
like
old
almost,
school, man.
20 plus years ago.
Gosh, I know.
23 years ago.
Yeah.
But you know, it's
But it's fascinating, guys.
as far as I know, they still don't teach personal finance
No, they don't.
Yeah,
in school,
yeah,
which is such
really
a
sad.
such an obvious thing to
Good
teach,
service, yeah.
especially in this country. I mean, you know, I'm an American. I grew up here. I don't know about other countries, but I do know from my own personal experience here in America that like the minute you turn 18, hell, even before I turned 18, I was getting credit card offers in the mail.
Yeah.
You know, introductory, student, this, you know, student offer, all this stuff. And this was back in the 90s. I imagine it's only worse now.
Exactly.
Not to mention that you can apply for all this shit online. So they probably see, in addition to just stuff coming in the mail, they probably see also ads and stuff for it. You know, so you're 18 years old, you're an adult, you don't know anything about
But you
responsibility,
need to know.
you know, fiscal,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
how to balance a checkbook, even just basic stuff, right?
What's
So
the
like,
what's the GDP?
of course you're gonna get in trouble. Oh, I can buy now and pay on it later. Oh, my payments are only $20 a month on a $500 balance. Oh, cool.
That you pay for 2x time.
Right? Yeah, your $500 balance that ends up costing you like
15, $1,800.
Yeah,
for
it's,
$500 loan.
Is
God
personal
forbid.
finance, is it taught anywhere? I'm not aware of, is there any country doing that? Because I know,
Some private
I know for a
schools.
fact that China doesn't do either, right? So like I mean, I was born in China, and then I kind of spent probably like 10, 11 years in China, like growing up. There was nothing, like nobody would mention anything about personal finance either, right? So, so I guess this is kind of a universal problem. It's not just
Yeah.
the
That's
US, I
governance. That's
think.
what that
I
is.
don't think, I'm not, maybe a Singapore, I don't know, maybe, right? I
Maybe, I
have
don't
no
know.
idea.
I'm from
Are you-
Singapore.
they didn't teach
and-
Oh, you're from
Very-
Singapore? Okay, nothing, right? No personal finance. Okay, all right. So it is a universal problem. Why?
No,
Why
I
though?
think-
Like why?
Because
What's
the governments
yeah.
want control.
Well, and yeah, I was just gonna say, not to
Is it
sound,
really? Is it really? You think there's a conspiracy
not to
behind
sound,
this?
not to sound too conspiratorial, but if you think about it, I mean, if you think, I mean, and again, I know this sounds a little like tinfoil hat, but I mean, there are definitely like rich people who call the shots of things, right? And it makes sense that they
Wanna
would
keep
want
you
as many
dumb.
people as possible to be in this like kind of consumerist cycle where you're constantly in debt and you have to work.
Right.
Right, almost everybody in this country has to work.
They teach
And
you how
it's
to
like-
make a cake and,
Yes.
and put it
Yeah.
in the maze.
Let them eat cake,
Yeah,
right? Shit. Come full circle.
anyway.
Let them bake and then eat. the
Yeah.
cake.
So you have to have enough people earning active income in order for a small percentage of the people to earn passive income. Basically, that's what it comes down to. So you have to make sure you have this healthy workforce and and the consumer base, right?
I would
Um,
like to
But
warn
that's
everything.
it.
I would
That's what it
like
is.
to warn everyone that you guys are about to discover Marxism. You continue down this conversation, you're going to you're going to rediscover Marxism.
Well, I
That's-
actually lived under communism for a while.
So did I.
Oh yeah, I did. I mean, I used to when I was a kid. So when I was like 3 years old, I used to take because in China when it was still under communism, you had to everything was rationed, right? So you had cash that cash alone didn't actually do anything. If you wanted like flour or something, you actually have to present this voucher in addition to cash to be able to get. Now the surprising fact is it wasn't actually that bad. Maybe because I lived in one of the like I guess one of the better areas or something. Like the city wasn't too bad. It wasn't actually too bad. Everybody had free housing, right? So yeah, so I did. It was like towards the end. It was like the mid to late 80s and the early 90s was when China started the reform, and then everything just like free enterprise, well, limited free enterprise started to show up. But I still remember my parents telling me to always shop at like government-owned places, never shop at a private store because all they do is rip you off, right? They're after like profit. They don't care about quality. They just want to make money, right? But if you go to a government-owned shop, they're not in it for the money, basically, right? So I was taught differently when I was a kid, for sure.
Yeah, me
Right?
too.
Just curious, James, what's your take on the stuff happening in China right now with like the Evergrande and the potential default and things like that? Like
Yeah, the thing is it's definitely different, right? Like in China, not everybody is actually paying attention to that, which is very interesting. It's definitely getting reported differently. Now, is it going to be a huge deal? The thing is, people have to realize that things work a lot differently in China, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because so when the economic reform happened, everybody before like 1989 or like the early 90s had free housing, right? They didn't have to. There wasn't like nobody knew anything about like mortgages and things like that. So after the economic reform, most people got to keep that free housing. So there's a huge percentage of the relatively big portion of the Chinese population who still has no mortgage debt. So the whole economy is it's not very levered, at least not not for that particular generation, right? Yeah, sure. I mean, the younger generation, yeah, there's a little bit of debt for sure, but there is still like people still don't like debt overall. That mindset, like if you like, I like for example, my relatives, they're all in China and they're all pretty much in the same city because in China you can't even easily migrate internally. Um, Nobody really has debt, right? So the like all the relatives and family members would chip in and buy a house for their kids or something, and then there's just and very rarely, maybe if it's like too much, they'll like get a small mortgage, and then the whole family would be responsible for paying it off, right? So there, it's different culturally. Everything is
There's not a
different.
big
So whatever you hear in the
money
news
there.
is doesn't make any sense to me,
I feel
right?
like here in the States, like a big emphasis on like, oh, buy now, pay later, and like the like rent to own and like
Well, all the interest, right?
well, right. And because I've never done rent to own, but I have friends that have, right? Like I grew up like I feel weird calling it poor now because my wife grew up like legit poor, like they didn't have food at times and running water and stuff. Mine was just like I lived in an affluent area in Ohio where I got made fun of because I didn't own a starter jacket, that kind of stuff. And so like we were poor, but like I never went hungry, but like what was amazing is that even with that, like growing up with not having money, it's like you just see that people go to like these rent to own things where it's like do the math. You don't even, just get a calculator and just add it up, man. Like you're paying, $3,000 for a TV, and it's
A Samsung.
yeah. So that kind of stuff I'm guessing doesn't really happen in China. People just save up for the TV and buy it, basically.
Yeah,
Or
and
do
also,
credit.
well, it's getting started, but it's definitely not at the kind of the late stage consumerism I see in the
Right,
US.
like
Like,
we are.
and also individualism is not something that's like in China, most people still they either live with their parents or live very close to their parents. They're like it's like a lot of times when somebody gets a mortgage or when they buy a house, it's usually a pretty big thing, and usually the whole family chips in, right? So there's this weird kind of economy that's not really like if you're not Chinese and you don't actually understand that sometimes, like, oh, where are they getting that money from, right? Because like that's it's weird. It's like, oh man, these houses are so expensive, but people can still afford them. Well, yeah, because the whole family is chipping in, right? So it's not just like one person's income. It's like you plus your parents plus your grandparents, right? And like
Yeah.
right, so like my like for example, like my grandmother, right? She basically just didn't spend money basically her entire life, and would save up all that money to basically just give to her kids, right? That's just the way it works. So in China, that's basic, and it's same thing with the previous generation, right? They just save all that money, and then eventually they'll just pass it down and then get them a house or something for their
So can I
kid.
ask, James, how do people
Yeah.
save that money in China? Do they save it in cash? Like
Yeah, bank
Okay,
account, just savings
Have
account,
banks?
just savings account.
Oh, so like in a bank then. So not
Yeah.
like
Under the
physical
bed-
cash.
under the
And
bed.
Under
when I say like the older gen, my parents' generation, when I say they don't spend money, they really do not spend, and like they just don't spend at all, right? Like what I'm saying is they don't spend any money on any like luxury stuff. They don't go out much. There's no
That's crazy.
not much
That's such a weird-
entertainment, right? And then
Yeah.
they just hoard all that cash and then just buy a house for their kids. That's what they do, right? So that economy is very different. So you don't want to use the same kind of mindset that's why I don't typically talk to people about like what's happening in China, because they usually don't have that insight into what's going on. Like I actually, the funny thing is I actually read the news on both sides because I do have access to like Chinese news sites, so I read the news. And then I obviously use here. So things are very different. Like,
James, you're kind of,
right?
James.
Yeah.
That's a little.
We've been doing.
Can you guys hear us? You were breaking
Yeah,
up on
I
us a
can.
little
I
bit,
can.
James.
Oh, really? Yeah. So yeah,
I can hear you well.
the way I see it is, I mean, it is kind of a big deal, right? The company is Evergrande, but the thing is, it's only going to have limited impact, right? In my opinion, and also, it's not going to cause like average people, homeowners to lose their homes, because it's not like 2008, right? Because in China, a lot of these homes are not mortgaged, not levered, and also people don't. And when you own a home in China, you really, it's really free and clear. There's no taxes, there's no HOA, there's no nothing, right? No insurance, nothing. I don't even know how it works, actually, to be honest, sometimes. So so like, if there's no insurance, what if it gets burned down? That's a good question, right? So yeah, so you don't know, right? So it's probably not going to be the same as the 2008 financial crisis, that's for sure. It's probably going to impact some high yield investment accounts. Maybe some hedge funds will get hit pretty hard, maybe, and right. So there's going to be some impact, but I don't feel like it's going to be like foreclosures everywhere. No, I don't think so. Like, that's just not. At least it's not going to affect the general public as much as like whatever happened in 2008. That was pretty damaging, right? Because the banks were also selling these bank-owned homes, and that really caused the whole market to just unwind like that. But I don't think it's going to happen. That's going to happen necessarily, right? Like none of my relatives, they don't have mortgage debt, right? And they don't have to pay property taxes. There's nothing, really. It's really free and clear when you own a home, right? So I don't see how it's going to actually affect them. And they don't have money invested in these high risk funds. I just don't see. Maybe it's going to affect the currency value, right? That could potentially be a problem, but it's not a problem, so much a problem domestically. Maybe it's just going to be a little bit of inflation. But there's already kind of inflation everywhere. So it's not really China, right? It's like inflation everywhere.
Yeah, nice. Well, I appreciate that insight, man. I'm gonna step to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
If you choose to. It's a lot to learn. So that's what I'm saying. I'll send you the information, take a look at it. I'll answer your questions. I'll get you on some live presentations, and you can get all your questions answered. Yeah, guys, it's amazing. I mean, I just like the in-depthness of being able to share cultures, and that provides a better understanding, I think, all around for everybody, because we're finding that, in common, finance one-on-one is not taught to us readily. And, after my experience and my research, it's done so purposely, because it's very difficult to govern people, okay? It just depends on the magnitude of the people that you're trying to govern. And when you're governing, when you elect your political parties or officials or whatever, you're really giving them a red carpet, because if they become career politicians, they're going to have their hands, and some people are going to have their hands in their back pocket. So that's going to dictate the way that they, or influence them and how they vote at any given time on any perspective, right? So what we just need to do is we need to be energetic and educate ourselves. Education, you cannot win without knowledge. I don't care what it is. If you're applying for a job, right? And you're applying for a job for me, I have 40 employees over a period of time at one time or another. So they send me a resume. Okay, I clearly define what my objectives are for the job that you're applying for. And when you send me a resume that says I worked at Arby's, McDonald's, and all these other places, definitely not speaking on my objective of what I want and looking for, I'm more than likely just going to take your resume and put it in the trash, because it demonstrates to me, if you can't follow those simple instructions, how are you going to, fulfill the objectives? I mean, that's just my opinion. From from a business perspective. Again, anything that I've ever done or ever learned required education. Without it, if you're listening to you or any of you on the panel there with your opinion, and if I just key in on just your opinions about, depending on what the topic's about, without doing my own due diligence, then I'm not serving myself. You see what I'm saying? Because I may respect your opinion, but I'm still going to want to go and try to check this out on my own, because that's just how I am. Then I know we're on the same page and we're moving in the same direction, because that's really what it's all about. It doesn't matter what your relationship. And, you know, my relationships goes to, you know, my faith, but that's my personal belief that if I can be the best person I can be each day and present myself that way to every person that I encounter, I'm more than likely going to have a higher percentage of running into people that have the same mindset. Because there's all kinds out here, right? And there's all kind of brokenness out here. And there's all kind of people that have their perspective based on the way they were raised or what they didn't have when they were raised or whatever. But it does become a materialization of you becoming an adult and taking responsibility for yourself, you know, and I think that's a happier journey for everybody. Be willing. I was always curious. I always want to know if you're doing something that's working, I want to copy you.
Yeah, I don't like reinventing the wheel.
You know what I'm saying?
I try to avoid it. If somebody, like, if I'm trying to do something and I know somebody that has done it already,
Exactly.
I'm at least gonna ask them for their perspective, right? Before I try and, just because there's, you know, why repeat someone else's mistakes if you can avoid it?
The top people always, you know, when you hear, oh, you know, Tony Robbins, you know, they talk about get a mentor,
Exactly.
right? That's how you learn, is from somebody else who's
Yeah.
done it.
It's true.
You know, if you don't have to make, like you say, reinvent the wheel.
And a lot of people try to do
you know,
that. They try to take some information that's been, the system works, whether you work it or not. Whether you quit, it doesn't matter. It's not, I don't want nobody off of you. I mean, I don't want nobody off of you because I'm building my own legacy wealth. All I'm doing is sharing with you how you can do it.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing a blessing if you take advantage of it. You know what I mean? I don't, because I interview, even in crypto, I interview people because I just want to know who I'm dealing with, right? It makes the road a little easier, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because, you know, time is precious, right? And there's nothing personal. It's just that, you know, do you really want to put this kind of time into this person? Because if the person don't want to put the time in for themselves, you're wasting your time. You know what I mean? You know, that's why we do what we do. We get together, we give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves, what they do, what tools and quality that they've already learned that, you know, I can learn something from. You know, that's what I do this for, is because I learn a lot of stuff. Even though I know a lot, I still learn a lot, you know, from what someone else is doing. Go ahead, Murphy.
I was just going to say that, you know, someone that I've learned a lot from in the crypto space, talking about looking to people who have, you know, learned valuable lessons and are coming from an informed position. Michael Saylor, for me, is really one of the most powerful speakers in this space. He launched a website in this last, I don't know, maybe 6 months, called Hope. He has the domain hope.com. That's what you can buy when you're a multi-billionaire. And, you know, his company has become an investment opportunity for people who don't want to buy into crypto, right? With the investment of Bitcoin by his company, MicroStrategies. But he really, for me, spells it out in the most compelling possible way. And I really trust his opinion because he is a successful CEO. He's been in tech for, you know, 20 years. He's made a ton of money, and he is completely, you know, financially fluent in what it takes to run these giant companies. And he can very well articulate why crypto and especially Bitcoin are good investments. So I recommend anybody, if you're interested in sharing, I think, you know, getting someone into Bitcoin or cryptos in general, hope.com is a great resource. Of course, it's kind of it funnels you into his MicroStrategies website, but it's still a good resource. And the videos of him are amazing. And by the way, sorry, one more thing. I actually have to take off very shortly. In fact, I need to get going to pick up my partner, but I'm really grateful for meeting y'all. I look forward to coming back on again. I'm going to listen to the last couple of minutes while I put on my shoes and stuff and get ready, but I do need to leave. And thank you very much. I look forward to seeing y'all again.
Yeah, same here.
Absolutely.
I
Look forward-
gotta drop off as well. I'll see you
Hey.
guys. Thanks a lot. It's been nice. It's been nice talking to you
Right, good
guys.
seeing you guys.
See you, Murphy.
Yeah.
Good
All right.
to see
See
you.
you.
It's Monday of every month, gentlemen.
Yeah, first Monday of
ladies.
every month. See you in November.
Cool. All right. See you.
Oh, Murphy, I don't know if you've heard, but the Michael Saylor, I actually thought he was just like a businessman who kind of got lucky. And I listened to his series with Robert Breedlove in the What is Money podcast. It's a really long, like they have like 9 1-hour conversations about everything, the nature of value, the nature of industry, money as stored energy, and it's beautiful. It's like it's really deep. Like I wouldn't recommend someone who's getting started.
Yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily recommend listen to that because it's deep and abstract and long, but it's lovely. It's
totally. I agree.
It's
I
a
think
really profound conversation, and
the best
so if
thing
you
that
have
I
a chance
take
to listen
from
to that.
totally the best thing about Michael Saylor, sorry to cut you off, I apologize, is that he is really describing Bitcoin as digital real estate. You know, it's an opportunity to own an asset that has no counterparty risk, that is, you know, transferable to anybody. It really it creates a huge opportunity. And that the analogy to digital energy or digital real estate is like a huge, you know, way to really explain the value, I think, to people. And he's getting it right. So I would like to watch that series. That sounds amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, it's with Robert Breedlove, and his podcast is called What is Money podcast, and he has like some really in-depth conversations with a bunch of people, and for Michael Saylor, he's not just talking about Bitcoin, he's sort of presenting his view of, you know, human industry, and it's super interesting.
Nice. I emailed that to myself so I can check it out. Thank you. I've been on a big podcast kick lately, and I'm getting ready to take a 3,000-mile road trip with my boss here in like a week and a half, and he's a big Bitcoin nerd too. So maybe I'll throw that on in the car.
That's a I wouldn't say it's fun. It's sort of really thought-provoking. I was really into podcasts like a while ago. I got a little bit tired because most Bitcoin podcasts sort of became, I don't know, spaces to talk about price and where the price is going and where do you see it in 3 months. And to me, I mean, it's fine. And it's interesting when it goes up. It's interesting to see it related to other events in the world. I was very sort of petty, joyful when China banned Bitcoin and nothing happened this last time. I'm like, wait, finally we grow out of it. But overall, the price discussions are, I don't know. I mean, what can you say? It's a graph.
Every day that the price of Bitcoin is not just zero is another day is one.
That's it. It doesn't. The only change in price that would be interesting is if it went to zero. That's like everything else is like you see it slowly. Someone else adopts it. Someone else implements it in some other protocol. Some other company puts it into their balance sheet. You see the adoption numbers in like Nigeria or El Salvador, or you know, that is interesting to me. And like the underlying philosophical discussion, it's, you know, it's appealing to me, but it's deep.
Went to a Salvadoran restaurant that just opened up like a couple weeks ago in my small town. I live about 10 minutes north of here in a town called Ferndale that's about 15,000 people, and there's a Salvadoran place there now. And I went there for lunch today, and I asked them if they would accept Bitcoin, and they said that they're not set up for it right now, but that they'll get set up for it, and they would love to accept Bitcoin.
Wow.
So
That's all we need.
well, I mean, it makes sense. I bet they have family back in El Salvador. And you know what's funny? I paid with a credit card, and right in front on the you know, barrier thing that now separates us from the cashiers, like everywhere you go. There was a note on there that said, "Oh, there will be a 50-cent surcharge for any credit card transactions." And it's like, I would much rather just pay you in Bitcoin, you know?
That's what I was just telling when you guys were changing the camera. I was telling the other guys that
you know, you see so many small businesses, and like, of course, none of them have, you know, the type of capital to, like Michael Saylor wanted to explore Bitcoin. He can dedicate a team to that, and he can
Right,
study
yeah.
it, and he can sort of
By thousands at a
outsource, and if there's an instrument that he needs, he might just pay for someone to create it. These people, that they have a small business, and they have, you know, signs everywhere begging you not to pay with credit card, asking you to pay in cash, but nobody's carrying cash anymore because cash is dirty and we're in a pandemic. So they are stuck paying the very, very high commissions, and it's right there for them. It exists. What they want already exists. They need that little extra push of user friendliness in the whole interface thing. Like someone like what's his name? Jack Mathers, the
Strike
guy
guy.
from, the Strike guy. He made it really, you can do two things in that app. Send and receive, and that's about it. And
Stupid
that
simple.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just need to find it, and when they find it, it's over, because it's just better.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What a time to be alive.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's coming.
Nice. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna pull the cam down a couple of minutes
Fine.
early and go home and hang out with my wife. And as much as I love hanging out with y'all,
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to see my wife much lately because she's been working a lot. She was at work until like midnight on Friday.
Mm,
So
You gotta do that.
she's literally burning the midnight oil. So, but well, it was great to see you, Aurora, as always.
Nice to see you.
Maybe one of these months we'll see you here in person, although I understand we are getting into the crappy months. So maybe come spring, you can make the drive up here.
It needs a bunch of boring logistics to align. I might be able to do
Yeah.
it at some point, but yeah.
Right on. Well, have a great month, and we'll see you.
Good
See you
to
in November.
you, and have a fabulous rest of your month. Okay.
You too, Ernest. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Take
And
care.
nice to meet you, Amy.
Yes, same here. Have a good month.
Bye.
Thanks.